Welcome to the Project Mom Podcast. I'm your host, Emily Gorrie, mom of a sweet baby girl and an ever-evolving entrepreneur. On this show, we will explore the intersection of motherhood and entrepreneurship. We will share stories of moms just like you and me with the goal of fostering community and comfort in knowing that we are not alone in our experiences. Please take a moment to subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to ensure you get all the updated episodes and releases. Welcome to today's episode of the Project Mom Podcast. Today's episode is going to be one of a few that I'm dropping in a series around self-love and self-care. And I'm super excited because today's guest is Randi Halaway, a soul and business coach who has been a really strong presence in my life since early 2020. And for a while, I couldn't find a lot of clarity in my life. I couldn't answer the question of what I wanted, what I needed, without looking through the lens of others, right? What would others think of this choice, this decision that I was about to make? And unknowingly, I spent about 2+ decades striving for goals and milestones because I assumed that they were expected of me. But these past 2.5 years have been incredible. I have been able to find my voice and find my trust in myself to answer my own calls for more and on my own terms. I've done a lot of scary things over the past couple of years. I quit my corporate sales job. I launched a business that I said goodbye to in the middle of a pandemic. I had a baby and experienced probably the most difficult year of my life mentally. And I've made it now to this place where I'm able to recognize that amazing things are coming. And it's really because of this awareness to old patterns, this pattern of needing to cater to others over myself in fear of taking up space. And it's with realizing how powerful that I am and just how capable I am that I've been able to create my own goals and my own desires. I've been able to slow down, get in tune with my thoughts and my motivations, and have set an intention that actually feels good. So without further ado, I am so excited to introduce you to the woman that has guided me through this journey and provided me with some tools to resettle back into my body in order to find that clarity and that peace. So Randi, welcome. I'm so excited.
Thank you so much, love. I have full body chill.
Me too. Me too. We've talked about this a lot, and that was something I had wanted to share. It had come through to me through a journaling session that I had just this morning. And we've talked about a lot of things millions of ways. And it's interesting because I really see it now, right? Life ebbs and life flows. And even with tools that we're given and healing these old patterns that we have, life still honestly throws us so many curveballs. And it's not really about how or if those will happen. It's about when and how we navigate those turns when they show up. And the ability to trust ourselves so that we can navigate and discern what becomes this like non-negotiable for us in our journey has been so powerful for me. So with that, I want to dive into your work and this journey that you've embarked on to get you to this place of heart-centered living and self-love, and share some of those nuggets and those wisdoms that have helped me so much with some other women who are listening at different stages of their journey.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm excited to dive into all of that and create some magic together today.
Yeah. Let's perhaps start with just what your work is. How do you support your clients? What is heart-centered living and self-love? And I think that will lend itself to kind of your journey on how you got to this part.
Yeah, that's a good place to start, definitely. So I guess what I will say is, I've been on a transformational journey now for the majority of my life. My dad's a coach and author and trainer and teacher. And so I've been in the space my entire life and resisted it a lot when I was younger. And then at some point really realized like, okay, it's time to roll up my sleeves. I would say that happened around 24 for me, which is about I don't know, I'm going to be 41 in a couple weeks. So a lot of years. So, transformation is, I believe, one of the purposes of why we're here. And so as I went through my journey of different experiences, right, we attract these experiences in our life as a way to reflect back to us what we're to be seeing about ourselves. And so I did a lot of different things. I was married in my early 20s and then I got divorced. I moved to San Diego. I opened a salon. I had been doing hair for a really long time, but, opening a business, like there were so many uncomfortable moments and navigating that and working through what was coming up for me. And then I got married again in my mid 30s, and that only lasted for 4 months. And that ultimately cracked open my heart. And that's the moment when I really understood with myself that, like, I understood this idea of change, this idea of transformation, this idea of healing ourselves intellectually very well. But what I hadn't fully mastered was the ability to integrate it into our system and get into our body and connect to our heart space. And so as my heart was quite literally being cracked open through a very devastating experience of a marriage ending so abruptly, I started embracing more, getting into my body more, feeling more, just acknowledging my fears, acknowledging the parts of me that were so afraid of being abandoned, rejected, not good enough, alone, right? And I'm sure some of you can relate to some of these emotions, as I know we all have them in some capacity. And so what started to happen for me is the more that I actually embraced the emotion and surrendered, I connected more to my heart space. And that's when I started receiving this connection to my intuition, this connection to who I really was, this remembrance of who I was. So, you have all these people in your life, I'm sure. I know, Emily, you can relate, and I'm sure some of your listeners can too, where people will tell you, like, you're amazing, you're so loved, you're so safe, you're so worthy. And you're like, yeah, cool, like, thanks. But when you really start to remember that that is actually true for yourself, where nobody else has to remind you, but there's a knowing within inside of you of who you are, how powerful you are, how magnificent you are, how worthy you are, loved you are, safe you are today, right? Not when you accomplish the other things, but today. That is when everything starts to shift. And what I learned is that in order to access that, we had to be connected to our heart. So that's what started my journey of personal heart-centered living. And as I continued to go on my journey, going deeper with it and deeper with it, integrate it more, it became really clear that it was my mission and purpose to help as many women as possible learn how to simply catch their ego, catch all the stories, all the chaos, all the trauma that has been spinning around, keeping us on chaos. I often refer to it as like being on the hamster wheel, kind of going around and around to Nowheresville.
Yeah.
Really stop those thoughts, right? Get familiar with how the ego gets tricky and plays in there of why you're not good enough, why you shouldn't do that, why you shouldn't quit your job and become an entrepreneur, or ask that person out, or open your heart more, or be vulnerable, whatever it is. And so as we catch those stories and then we get to what's underneath the surface, which is what we're really feeling, and start to face it, we start to realize, like, our feelings aren't trying to hurt us. Our ego's not trying to hurt us. It's just trying to protect us. And that's our freedom. And so from that place, we're now, again, back in our heart. And that's when we know who we are. And that's when I truly believe that anything that we want and desire is possible. And so I also believe that the more people that are more heart-centered is what's going to help us heal the world. So this is why this mission is so important to me. This is why I believe heart-centered living is so important. And this is why, I'm here and just so happy to share this message with not only you on our journey, but with whoever is listening here today.
Yeah. I mean, I love that. And I think it's quite evident, right? We've been working together for over 2 years now at this point and have been through so many different experiences and parts of my journey together. And I think even this morning, right, I shared a little bit of that earlier, of this like moment of realization that I was able to have from being still and being able to get into my body and discern these old patterns that are at play and recognize that it's not required, right? These don't have to continue to play out moving forward, right? We can always make a different choice in these moments. And it's interesting because I imagine, as I'm experiencing them, other women who are moms who are listening to this, or even their partners who perhaps are exploring this episode as well and taking interest in what their partners are experiencing. There's a lot of stories at play. Even this morning, I was thinking we, lost childcare for today. And I was thinking, okay, now I have to find someone new to watch my daughter while we, had this interview. And there's a mental load that women take on that is burdensome to us, right? We kind of have this expectation that as the woman in our relationship, as the mom, that this is a responsibility. And I was playing into that. I recognized, right, very clearly that I was playing into this pressure. Oh, we lost childcare. I'm working. My husband's working. It's on me to rearrange my schedule. And I think there's a lot of us listening who perhaps feel that way, but don't really know how to take the first step to kind of change these mental patterns and get into our bodies and learn how to advocate for ourselves or stand up for ourselves. So, how do you approach that when you're starting from the beginning? And I think a lot of the time when we started working together was a slow process. So what does the beginning process look like for some of us who perhaps don't want to hit a point where our hearts are cracked open? Or how do we start this journey and give ourselves a little bit of that permission to make different choices?
It's a really good question. I did want to circle back on something you said of like what happened to this morning with you first. Again, when we're in our ego, it's going to continue to create chaos of why, like, oh, this is screwed. This is not going to work. Like, see, it's all protection, right? It's all protection to keep us small, to keep us hiding. I might as well just cancel the podcast episode. I might as well just cancel the whole podcast because I'm never going to, childcare is not working out. And it's like, okay, let's calm it down, right? But what's interesting is when you learn how to catch that that's even at play, get back in your heart, again, you're more connected to your intuition, which means infinite possibilities. So I'm not exactly sure how you navigated, but what I do know is that you navigated it. And here we are having this interview. And it was probably 100 times more simple today than it would have been potentially a few years ago. So just want to acknowledge you for that and say, it can be that simple. It can be that simple of just simply making that choice. Like, wait a second, ego, I see you. I see you trying to sabotage this. I see you trying to protect me from feeling uncomfortable or being seen or whatever it is. And you know what? We're safe. You can sit down and there is a solution here. So what else is possible? And there's always a solution. So I wanted to touch on that. And then in light of what you said about getting started. So, I think typically what I've learned in my journey, because obviously I've been on my transformational journey for a long time. So I have a lot of my own experiences, but I've also been working with women for 20 plus years, right? I did hair for 17 years. I owned a salon for 5.5. I've now been a coach for 5 plus, but even though I was coaching the entire time. So I've worked with a lot of women, a lot of people, see the patterns. I see kind of what goes on. And what I've observed is that 2 things typically happen. One, the person just gets like fed up with something. They either get inspired by someone or they want more. They want it to be different. They want change. So that's the first step. I also, and this is maybe more the path that I took, is the person who sort of needs it to be harder, who needs the fall, who needs to walk into that brick wall. That was me after my second divorce that lasted 4 months. I'm like now sitting here, I'm like 7 years old. I think I just turned 37 and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm divorced twice. Like, how did this happen to me? So this was like a brick wall for me. And it was time to finally start to face what I had been running from, right? So typically I've noticed at least it's 1 or 2 of those things. Either way, it's perfect. There's no right or wrong. You don't want anything wrong. It's all perfect. What I want people to celebrate is the awareness of wanting the change. So that's the first step, is wanting the change, whether something kind of more intense happened or you saw it, you got inspired, or you're just getting that intuitive hit. Yeah. So it's wanting the change first and foremost. Next, it's just starting to take small, tangible steps forward. What I like to help people with is having a very solid and consistent morning ritual. What this does is it helps you just to slow down. Because remember, from the ego's perspective, we're head up, right? We're living from our head up. We're going, doing. We have to be productive. We have to go. God forbid we sat down and slowed down and just breathed, because then we would feel something. So what this process does is it kind of really helps you to start to reprogram your subconscious mind that it is safe for you to slow down, to relax, to be in your body, to acknowledge how you're feeling and all these things. So it starts with journaling what it is that you're feeling, really venting out what you're feeling. And I know some people will say, well, I don't know what to journal. There's always something inside. It's just a matter of if you're willing to open it up, right? So I have tons and tons of journal prompts. I think I have a free journal prompt resource in the link in my bio if anyone wants to grab those. But taking that time to ask yourself, like, how are you feeling? What do you need? What's coming up for you right now? And then bringing it back to what is true. What is really true here? Because that's starting to reprogram. First, we're letting it out. We're releasing those stories, and then we're bringing it back to what is true. And then from there, having a meditation practice, breathing, slowing down, getting in your body. This is huge. because again, we have to reprogram not only our subconscious mind, but our nervous system to understand that we're safe to be in our body. This is what's going to now connect you more to your heart. So for all of you, I would probably bet that every single person listening to this is in a place where no matter what's going on in your life, you're looking for clarity on something. You're looking for an answer on something. You're looking for clarity on something. You're looking for direction, guidance on something, right? I want you to know that that guidance, that clarity, that direction is inside of you. It's inside of you. You have access to it. Now, that doesn't mean that having a coach in your corner or having a program or something to support you in this isn't helpful, because it absolutely is. It would not be who I am or where I am today without the support system that I have in that way. But the point is that we do have access to this within inside of us. And so if we're just willing to slow down enough to get into our body, to remove the noise, to remove the chaos, you will start to receive that. That's going to get you more in your body, more grounded, more connected to your heart, which means now you can go through your day a little bit more grounded, a little bit more heart-centered. So those are two really, really powerful practices that I would say if you're just getting started, start there, journal and meditate. And then from there, I have other things that I add into the ritual, like power statements. I teach power statements if you're wanting to manifest something, gratitude, affirmations, celebration, which is huge, movement of your body, those types of things. But if you're just getting started, I think if you can do a journal practice for 5 to 10 minutes a day, a meditation practice for 3 to 10 minutes a day. I also have a free 3-minute meditation and link in my bio that you can use. Like, we can all do this. We all have time for this. It's just making that choice. But what I have learned is that even though I've worked with a lot of people who have a ton of resistance to this process, and I know you can speak to this too, Emily, but once you accept it, once you integrate it, once you just practice it consistently, like, results are inevitable, period. It's literally that simple. So I would say that is the starting point.
Yeah, I love that. And there's a couple of things I want to touch on, but the first one being that notion of finding the time. And a lot of comments that have come up in other interviews that I've done is the need for like alone time or self-prioritization is key. And this is a perfect way to start that, right? Giving yourself even just 15 minutes a day to settle in and give yourself the time that you need to calm your body or rest your eyes or listen to a meditation is so important. But there's always that part of us that has like the perfectionist piece of, right? Like, how I have so many other things that I need to do, to produce, to get done in my day. This I'll do later. And then by the time the day shows up, the end of the day shows up, you're exhausted and it just doesn't get done. So the need to make it a priority is key. And I would love for you to talk just a little bit on perhaps some of your experiences with perhaps other clients that you have. And I'm happy to share mine too, in terms of just how much of a game changer this is. And I like think back to my experiences going through this process with you. And you've always said to me, anything is better than nothing. Mm-hmm. So being able to say, okay, just have 5 minutes is all I can give right now to this process. And it's interesting because I say that to myself actually quite a bit. Just give yourself 5 minutes. 5 minutes turns into 30. The other things that were on that list that needed to get done no longer feel that necessary in that moment. And it really is quite beautiful how your body just settles in.
Yeah. So I'll start by saying this. We're creating in every moment. Every single moment. And I think this is something that if we could all get on board with and accept, because I didn't make this up. This is a universal truth. Like, it's true. We are creating in every single moment. Every single second of your life, you are creating, whether you're sleeping, whether you're awake, whether you're breathing, whether you're not breathing, whether you're conscious, whether you're unconscious, it does not matter. You're creating. And the reality is you're creating from one of two places, either your ego, which is going to be more chaos, like we talked about, more looping. It's got that to-do list, and the to-do list looks really real and it is intense and it better get done, because if it doesn't get done, you better take yourself out back, beat yourself up, right? So that's the intensity of the ego and its stories of what you need to do to feel really just good enough, right? Safe, whatever it is. So that's the ego side, or you're creating from your heart. And when you're creating from your heart, again, everything is simpler. You're breathing, you're more in your body, everything slows down. Like you said, which I loved what you said, most of your list goes away because it's all chaos. The majority of what we have on our to-do list is chaos. right? And again, remember, the ego is addicted to chaos. So that's why it does that. We have all these things we have to do. We can't relax until they're done. It's just to keep us in chaos versus like, does that really matter? Or what if I just did this one thing? All those other things would fall off. They wouldn't matter anymore. Right. But this is the idea where you actually get to live in flow, where you actually get to be happy, where you actually get to have calm and peace and freedom within inside yourself. And so remember, again, we're reprogramming something here. A lot of us feel more comfortable. I know this might sound a little weird, but we feel more comfortable in the chaos than we do in calm. And that's what we're working on healing, is that like, it is safe for you to be in your body. It is safe for you to be calm. It is safe for you to have peace within inside yourself, right? It is safe for you just to be. Mm-hmm. So that's the first piece I want to say. So we're creating in every moment, ego or heart. Ego-based creation equals ego-based results. Heart-based creation equals heart-based results. It's very, very simple. Remember, from divine's perspective, all of this is very simple. But when it gets complex is when the ego comes into play. So if we understand what it is that I'm saying here, and coming back to what you're talking about why is it so important to make self-care a priority, right? Well, for a couple of reasons. One, if we don't make ourselves a priority first, who's going to? Are we still waiting for the knight in shining armor to come save us and like do all these things for us and take care of us and make sure that we're okay? Well, we can, but I think we've proven that that's not really how this works. Don't show up for us. Other people are trying to keep their head above water, right? And ultimately, if we're trying to show up for everybody else from this more ego-based place, we're just creating more chaos. We're not being present with people. We're not really being the best version of ourselves. So what we want to start to do is reprogramming this idea that we need to sacrifice ourselves to be good enough and make ourselves the priority. If you could just love you, take care of you, nurture you, ground you before you went in and did that meeting, did that whatever it is it possible that now you're a better friend, you're a better leader, you're a better teacher, you're a better wife, you're a better mother, right? Going back to the airplane analogy. It's very clear and concise. You have to put your mask on first. Otherwise, how in the world are you going to help your child, help your family, help your loved ones, help your team, whatever that is, right? So this is the piece around, again, slowing it down, taking care of you, making you the priority. Now, when you do the things that I'm speaking about, taking that time in the morning, that doesn't mean that it's perfect, right? Like if you're a mom and you've got things you're navigating and you're a mompreneur and all that, like, yeah, there's going to be some chaos. There's going to be some things going on. It's just how you navigate it. Like we talked about, it's not about there not being challenges. This is planet Earth. There are challenges. There are things, there are obstacles. It's just how you choose to navigate it is what's going to create your reality. Are you going to react more ego and create more chaos? Or are you going to respond and create more responsive results, right? So the more you just make yourself a priority, make self-care a priority, what happens is you're more in your heart, you're more in your body. Again, you're more connected to your intuition. So what could be possible in your life if you were in your body, you were actually conscious? I want to clarify, when you're in your ego, you are unconscious. You are in your head. When you're in your body, in your heart, you are conscious. So ask yourself this: do I want to be making unconscious choices or do I want to be making conscious choices? This is a choice that every single one of us has to make. There's a discernment piece here. What happened for me is I resisted this for years. And then at some point I became so discerned within inside of myself that this was a non-negotiable, not because I was trying to impress anybody or get a guy or get a bunch of people to like me. It's because no, this was for me, because I'm now becoming my own best friend. This is my personal time. This is how I get to then love on me, show up for me, get into my heart, which means I get to make more heart-centered choices, which means I get to have more heart-centered results. I get to be more of a light and inspiration for other people to do the same thing. So we have more heart-centered people, which means we have more heart-centered results as a collective. So it's just really coming back to knowing you have free will. You can decide in every moment, and you are going to vacillate, right? You have an ego. It's not about it going away. It's just, how can you be in your heart in more moments? How can you be in your heart in as many moments as possible? How can you commit to living a heart-centered life so you can have more heart-centered results, be an inspiration for other people to be more in their heart? How you do that is by being consistent and showing up for you, first and foremost, taking responsibility for your trauma, for your actions, for your emotions. How do you do that? You have to slow it down and start to look at it. Breathing, getting into your body, setting an intention for your day. We talk a lot about this, actually came through this morning in my meditation. We talk a lot about what we need from other people, what we need from them, what we need from them. But how do we want to show up? How are we showing up? How do we want to impact other people? The best way for us to impact other people is to take care of ourselves first and show up as the best version of ourselves. Not perfect, but more vulnerable, more real, more from our heart. So that is probably something that I have said 100 million times and will continue to say. People remember what I'm saying, because you guys already know what I'm saying is true, but remember it so that you can just start to make that recommitment to yourself every day that this matters, this is worth it. And the results are really beautiful on the other side. It really is. This work has completely transformed my life. And I have watched it not only transform your life, but many, many other clients and women that I've worked with. It's just simple. Do the work, make yourself a priority, practice self-care consistently, and you will see results. That is all.
Yeah. And it really is quite beautiful, because I think back to the first year of my daughter's life. And I remember having these conversations with you and trying to give myself the permission to take this time for myself when I felt like this newborn baby needed me, or I wasn't capable of giving her what she needed, which, right, looking back on it now and having the support, with you in my corner to help me recognize some of these ego-based patterns of self-sabotage and self-sacrifice, and this pattern of giving myself to others before myself, right, is really quite remarkable. And I think when you think about the time that we spend as new moms, sleep deprived and tugged on, touched all the time, right? We are constantly getting pulled injections for others. So it's so valuable and it's so important for us to, even honestly, as you're talking, I think back to that year and I'm like, I think about the times I slept in the recliner chair in my daughter's nursery because I couldn't have her in my room anymore. That was a boundary that we moved her into her nursery at 6 weeks old. The, AAP's recommendation is 6 months. And there's all these external pressures. And I hit a wall on that. And I said, there's the boundary. She's got to go. Right. So we moved her into her nursery to give us a little bit more physical space, allowed my husband to get a little bit more sleep, gave me proximity to sleep near her, but not, right on top of her. And I think about all the times that I had in the middle of the night, I just fed her, put her back down, and I'm laying there. That time is such a beautiful moment for a lot of reasons, but unless we're in our bodies, it gets lost in this chaos of here I am again, or how am I going to get out of this, or this feels too hard. And those are actually quite beautiful moments if we simplify it to allow us just to check in with ourselves in those moments. And I remember laying there, and I'm going to blank on it. I'll have to link it in the show notes. There's a book that you shared with me.
A Return to Love.
Who's the author?
Marianne Williams.
Yes. I remember listening to that on an audiobook. I brought out my headphones. I remember listening to it on audiobook. And it was the only thing that relaxed me enough to go to sleep. It was this coming back to ourselves, this frequency, this wavelength that this woman had in terms of giving ourselves the love and connection that actually gave me what I needed. So it was a huge, powerful moment for me. And my point of sharing this story is just reminding those listening that we do have moments where we can reconnect with ourselves. And if we're not giving ourselves the permission to not beat ourselves up, if we're, losing ourselves in this, we're going to continue to be in a place that we don't want to be. And I just remember how vibrant and necessary those moments were for me, and the impact that you were able to have and kind of guiding me through that, and the necessary support, really. So I didn't feel like I was alone in this journey. And I want to touch on now a little bit this point that you mentioned of getting into our bodies. It's safe to feel what we're feeling. So in those moments in the middle of the night, it's safe for us to be like, what am I feeling right now? It will not harm us if we look at it, right? All it wants, you say this to me a million times, all it wants is for us to look at it. This feeling just wants to be acknowledged. And it really is not so scary. So knowing that our bodies hold a lot of trauma, a lot of it unconsciously, right? A lot of subconsciously. We don't quite recognize that there's trauma there until we look at it. We kind of slow down and we take a pause. So from your perspective, how valuable is it to have somebody in your corner, right? To help you navigate some of this? Because my own personal experiences too is you don't need somebody. You got this. No worries. You can handle it. You don't have to talk about it, type of thing. So how important is it to find somebody, whether it's a coach, whether it's a peer going through a similar life stage as you? How important is it for somebody to be part of a support system to journey through this subconscious trauma that everybody ultimately holds?
Yeah, it's a very powerful question. I would say it's everything, truly. again, if we take it back to the basics, you're creating in every moment, right? So you're right. Trauma is a thing. It gets stored in the system consciously or unconsciously. And we're creating in every moment based off what's going on with inside of us. So I'm just going to zoom it out here, and you guys can do the math on your own, because everyone needs to come to this just conclusion on their own, right? But if you have trauma in your body, whether you realize it or not, and how you can know if you have trauma in your body is like, are you ever reactive? Do you ever find yourself in a place where you're just like, wow, why did I just yell at my husband? Or why did I yell at my kid? Or why did I get so mad at this person? Why do I have road rage? Why am I so triggered by this one little thing that did barely even look at me? And I just want to murder this person right now, right? Like, that's trauma, loves. That is your trauma. And there's nothing wrong with it. And in fact, it's natural. You're a human being. So I just want to first preface, like, we all have it, and that's okay. It's a part of this human experience. So first, let go of judging yourself for it. Secondly, understand that you're creating from what's going on inside. So if the trauma's in there and it's being just swishing around in there, and you've got, these emotions of not good enough and scared and fear of being alone, fear of being abandoned, fear of being rejected, shame, guilt, fear, whatever the emotions are, which we all have again, right? Again, you're going to be creating based off what's going on inside. So you have two options. You can do nothing and keep letting that stew around. And I believe that the soul will always have its way with us. So at some point, it's going to start coming out more and more and more. And like, you're going to have to look at it. Maybe not tomorrow, maybe not in a year from now, maybe not in 10 years from now, maybe not in this lifetime. That's your choice. You have free will. However, you will have to look at it at some point. So my thing is, why not look at it now? But the point is that you can either continue to say, I've got this, which is all ego, right? I don't need help. Like, we all need help, to be clear, every single one of us. And I think that what would be so beneficial for our society and for the collective is to like actually just start putting that out there. Like, why don't we have that? Why aren't we teaching that in school? There's like so many things. It's like the idea that we've got this, and, you shouldn't be especially with men, it's as a whole other subject I could go off of. And like, it's safe for us to feel. It's safe for us to be flawed. It's safe for us to have trauma, to be imperfect. So, however, going back to the point, whatever's going on inside is going to be projected outwardly. It's all a reflection. So you can keep saying that you've got this on your own and project out whatever's going on. And it's very simple. Just look at your outward results. If you're not happy with your outward results, or something to look at, right? The other option is to get help from somebody who understands trauma, who understands the nervous system, who understands the ego, who understands the heart, who understands the truth of who you really are, who understands how to process emotions and get back into your body, because that is the most productive thing you will ever do in your entire life. There is nothing more productive on your to-do list than learning how to do what I just said. Because again, you're creating in every moment. So cool. You have all these to-do lists, you've made money, you have this person, you have a big ring, you have a big house, you have a cute kid, you have a hot husband, you have all these things. Great, 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 great. But like, how do you actually feel inside? That's what matters here. Right. And so what we want to be doing is learning how to catch the ego, learning how to process our emotions, remembering that our emotions aren't trying to hurt us. They just want to be acknowledged by us so we can get more into our heart, more into our body, more connected to our intuition. Also, here's a side caveat for those of you who are looking for your purpose. Hello, it exists right inside of there. You have access to it. Each and every one of you are here on purpose, for a purpose. You have a purpose. I don't know exactly what it is, but I know with 1,000,000,000% certainty it exists within inside of you in your heart. This is where happiness exists. This is where freedom exists, not because your life is perfect, but because you are simply just committed to navigating and flowing, being more in your feminine, being more in the ebb, being more in the flow, going with it all, right? And allowing yourself to just be present. Because remember, we're only promised this present moment. That is it. What happened in the past is over. What happened in the future, we don't know. What's going to happen in the future, we don't know. So we only have this present moment, and the things that you're looking for, the happiness, the freedom, the love, the expansion, the magic, all those things, the abundance, it only exists in the present moment anyway. So again, I'm going to zoom it out. You can do the math. You can either keep going down the path with the ego and creating that, and that's fine. You have free will. There's no judgment there. Or you can get support to help you. Like, and I know this is something that you and I have talked about a lot. Like, what I bring to the table for you is to help you stay in your heart in more moments. The more you're in your heart, the more connected you are to your intuition. That's how you created this podcast. That's how it all got channeled through. Like, it's very simple. And all I've been doing is holding space for you to remember who you are and to be in your heart more often. But because I was there, because I was helping you, because I was reminding you in those moments that were hard, you got to go through this faster. You got to get there faster. You got to get a lot of momentum. And I do believe that there was less pain involved on your journey. Not that there wasn't pain, but you're also learning how to navigate pain, which means you don't have to be as afraid of pain anymore. Imagine a life where you don't have to be afraid of pain. You guys, pain is inevitable. Heartbreak is inevitable. Falling down is inevitable. It's just the meaning you give it that makes it so freaking devastating. And that's what keeps us stuck. So, long-winded answer to your question, but I think it's truly everything. And I know for sure that I would not be who I am today or where I am today if it wasn't for the team of people that support me and the things that come up for me and helping me. Again, my goal is every morning, my intention is to be in my heart in as many moments as possible. If it was that simple, because then I can make more heart-centered choices. But in order to have an ego, so in order to do that, I have to be as present as possible. I have to be as intentional as possible. I have to be in my body as much as possible, right? So yeah, we need help for that.
Yeah. And as you're speaking, there's so many things that are coming up for me in terms of flashes of experiences that I've had. And I know as moms, right, we are so hard on ourselves. How are we impacting our children? Are we showing up in the best way for them? And I think this is kind of a twofold comment of if we can show up for ourselves, we can show up for our kids in a way that we want to, right? When we think about, we are models for our children, right? Our children learn from us consciously or subconsciously, right? They see how we respond and how we possibly react in situations, and they learn from that physically and emotionally and mentally. And that feels like a lot of pressure, right? There's a lot of pressure on that. And I think if we, have to somehow find a way to take some of that pressure off of ourselves and show up in a way that's just authentically ourselves, as that's going to be the most impactful for our kids. But also, and having somebody in your corner to help you do that is, from my experience, a game changer. But also this ability to repair and forgive ourselves. And I want to talk a little bit about that, because I can imagine women who are listening, or anybody that is listening who wants to begin this journey, there's a level of, I've already done so many of these negative things, or I've reacted so many times, and from an ego-based place, and they're listening and it feels overwhelming to kind of forgive themselves for that. So can you talk a little bit about this need or ability to repair and forgive ourselves on this journey, and just how necessary that is?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm really glad you brought that up. So there's a couple pieces to it. One, judgment of ourselves and beating ourselves up is all ego-based. So once you recognize that, you really can diffuse it. Like, it can really fall away so much. Like, oh, this is ego. Ego is false, you guys. So the judgment is just another ploy to keep us in chaos. If there's nothing to actually judge yourself for, you're a human being. You've messed up, and that's okay. You're right on track. Hadn't messed up, I'd be a little bit more like curious what's going on, right? Like, it's okay for you to mess up. None of us we were never meant to be perfect. So it's first like busting through this perfection story, understanding anytime you're beating yourself up, anytime you're judging yourself, it's coming from the ego's perspective, which means it's just a looping pattern of chaos. It's not true. Forgiveness is really a choice. It's a choice. So first, what you want to do is understand that the judgment and the beating yourself up is ego anyway. It's just, we can ask yourself, how is it serving you? How is it serving you? And if you really feel like it's serving you, then by all means, do what feels right to you. But typically we recognize it's not serving us at all. And so it's like, oh, wait, then maybe I could do something different. Like, what if I just chose in this moment, it's ego, to detach and just like put your hands on your heart. It's like, I forgive myself. I let myself off the hook. I'm removing this pressure. I'm removing this beating myself up energy. I'm choosing to forgive myself in this moment, right? Now, that's going to be probably hundreds of those conversations over time, because this is a process. But first, it's catching all of what I just said, and then making the choice to love yourself anyway, which is all the things that I've been talking about, like all the ways of when I catch I'm judging myself, the first thing I do is like, whoa, what's going on? Okay. Let go of the ego, let go of judging. I let myself off the hook. I do this thing where I like wash myself with my hands. So like right now I'm like taking my hands and washing it off my head and my shoulders. I remove the expectation. I remove the pressure. I remove the judgment. I remove the perfectionism. I let myself off the hook, put my hands on my heart, and I'm like, I love you. I'm here for you. I forgive you. It's safe for you to be you. It's safe for you to be imperfect. right? So now I'm showing up for myself. I go journal, I meditate, I connect in what is really true here. It's like, I'm safe. It's okay for me to forgive myself, right? So this is a start to the process. This is, again, a lot of deeper work, which is why having a coach or a community is really, really important. The other thing I really want to touch on, and you and I have talked about this a lot, is understanding that every single soul that is on this planet has signed up for their own individual and unique experience. Okay. So this is a big piece. The person that you yelled at on the street for cutting you off, right? Like, you got to forgive yourself, for showing up. And if you need to apologize, I'm all about taking personal responsibility. If you need to apologize, go apologize, but not from like a shame. Oh my God. I'm going to be like, no, just like, I'm sorry. That was not my finest hour and I'm going to be better. Like, own that from your power, right? But just also know that whatever they're experiencing, if they're taking it personal, that's their experience too, for their trauma, for their lessons. So that's like on an outward level. I want to bring it back to your children, because this is where it really can be intense. And you and I have talked about this perfection of who you're supposed to be as a mom, how you're supposed to show up, how you're supposed to protect Olive and make her life perfect and make sure that this happens to her and that happens to her and that doesn't happen to her, right? And how many times we talked about, yes, and what if every experience that she's having is the experience that she's meant to be having for the purpose of her soul's growth? Remember, you guys, your children, you don't own your children. You are meant to lead them. You're meant to inspire them. You're meant to nurture them, not just control every part of who they are and what they get to experience and what they don't. Yes, you have to discern what's in their highest and best interest. But what you want to be ultimately doing is empowering them to be their own person, their own individual, their own unique essence in this world. And how they do that is they have to fall. They have to fall. Like, give yourself a second to take what I just said in, because if you're thinking that you're going to be the perfect parent and your child is never going to fall, never going to have pain, how are you actually serving them? Now, that doesn't mean you go push them off a cliff by any means, obviously, but let them experience, let them feel, let them see what it's like to navigate challenge. Let them see what it's like for you to take responsibility, for you not to be perfect. But then we come back, you know what, honey, I'm sorry. That wasn't my finest hour, but it's okay to be imperfect. We've talked about this too, around you putting yourself first. Let your daughter or your son or whoever see that it's okay for you to go on a trip so you can come back and be a stronger parent. Would you want that for them too? Then it's okay to speak up for yourself and all those types of things. So it's like understanding, taking that pressure off of being perfect and allowing your child, whoever, including yourself, to have the experience that you're simply meant to have. When you're willing to just navigate that and trust in that, take the pressure off, you're naturally repairing. You're naturally coming back to love. You're naturally coming back to your heart. And again, if we're really going to sum this whole entire interview up, is that's the point here, is how often can you simply just be in your heart? Because that's where your freedom lies. That's where your infinite possibilities lies. That's where the best version of you as a woman, as a leader, as an entrepreneur, as a mother, as a wife, as a partner, a friend, a sister, a daughter, all those things, that's where that lies.
Yeah. Yeah. I have goosebumps as you're talking because it resonates with me daily, right? This concept of just showing up as the best version of me is the best possible scenario for everyone around me. And I want to touch a little bit on, before we wrap up a bit, you mentioned it a little bit in your example of, the road rage person, and you've screamed at the person down the road because they cut you off or something. I want to flip the script a little bit, because I think there is something to be said for how we respond to people who are hurting. So people's reactions to us and kind of the thoughts that we possibly could have of, oh, we've messed up, this person is hurting. So I want to touch a little bit on that and kind of how we can put a little bit of awareness around that person's experience. It is not personal to us, and how we navigate some of those external beliefs or judgments communicated to us, especially in parenthood, right? We're possibly partnering with somebody else who has differing opinions than us. We have in-laws, we have parents who perhaps have done things differently that are not shy of sharing their opinion. So how do we separate that from our worth or our ability to perform as a mom and kind of not take that so personally?
Yeah, it's a really good question too. So hurt people. and we all are hurt in some capacity. So we're going around, there's a lot of people hurting people, right? And so again, what I would love to start by saying is that if we took the meaning away from the hurt, what if it wasn't bad to be hurt?
Yeah.
Right? So that's first and foremost. Secondly, understanding again that, so if I come up to you, Emily, and I smack you across the face, right? And your reaction is like, oh my God, Randi, you're so rude. I'm going to smack you across the face back. So what's going on there is obviously something is going on with inside of me as to why I would want to smack you across the face. Right? But simultaneously, something is going on with inside of you as to why you took me smacking you across the face personally. The reason why you took it personally, if that was your choice, is because you already had the hurt inside. I just came along and triggered it by smacking you. Where we ultimately want to be is that we know how to process and resolve our own triggered energy. So then you can zoom out, or you can process your triggered energy first and then look at the person like, wow, like what's going on with inside of you that you're going around smacking people across the face? Like, are you okay? To be clear, I'm not going to be friends with you if you're going to go around smacking me, but I do want to ask, are you okay? Do you need something?
Yeah.
Because I know that was not personal to me.
Right.
Right. So I use that story to help bring some perspective to understanding that it's never personal. There's a book called The Four Agreements. I highly recommend it. I believe it's agreement 2. Nothing is ever personal. He literally goes as far as like, if someone shoots you, it's not personal. People are acting outwardly based on what's going on with them inwardly. Period. End of discussion. Okay. Yep. And the only reason why we're affected by it is because it's simply triggering something that was already going on with inside of us as well. But I want you to understand it's separate. We attract people into our life to bring these things up. But the triggered energy over here from the person who's smacking and the triggered energy over here from the person who got reactive to the smacking, completely separate.
Yeah.
I am not responsible for your reaction and you're not responsible for mine. However, we're here together as a way to help mirror what we're supposed to be looking at. So let me say this. What if you stopped worrying about other people's feelings so much, other people's reactions so much, other people's validation so much, and you just looked at you and your stuff? What kind of world we live in if that's what our intention was? And understanding that whatever somebody else is experiencing is exactly what they're meant to be experiencing. So I'll say this, don't take away people's experiences. Stop trying to save everybody from pain, from falling. That is their experience. That is their transformation. That is their opportunity to heal their soul's growth. Don't take that away from them.
Yep.
Let them have their experience. I'm not saying this is easy. This has been one of my biggest lessons in this life. I've had a very strong need to save and help. And as you know, one of my gifts is to be able to do this, but I've had to learn how to discern. Is this person asking for my help? If they are, let's do it. I can help you. I feel very confident in my ability to help you. But if you're not, I got to let go. I got to let you have your own experience because that's what's actually going to get you there faster, right? So it's first letting people have their own feelings, their own experiences, letting go of taking it personally, whatever they're doing, or taking it on like it's your responsibility to save them. And really just removing whatever that is to the side and looking at you. What are you feeling? What's coming up for you? If you're taking it personally, it's just an opportunity for you to go deeper with inside yourself. That is your freedom card because we don't have the power to save other people. Even for me as a coach, one of my gifts is to be able to hold space for people, to help them to remember who they are, to help them process their trauma. But I'm not saving, I'm not doing it for you. All of the transformation you have had in our work together has been because you made the choice. You walked down the dark hall, right? You faced the fear and then you came out on the other side. I was here just holding space for you.
Yeah.
We do not have the power to save, change, or force other people into anything else, just like they don't for us. This is about us going into our own sovereignty and just simply taking personal responsibility for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
That is your freedom to all of this that we're talking about right now. Because now we can just be more personally responsible versus like it's all a distraction from the ego. Like if I can make it about you, then I don't have to look at myself. Yeah. Oh, he did this to me, she did this to me, I'm such a victim. It's like, not really.
Yeah. And when we think about it too, right, in terms of showing up for our kids, right? You talked about a little bit about this too, in terms of the conversations that you and I have had. Like we are not here to save our children. We are not here to make sure that they never experience any sort of pain. So as we go through the day-to-day and our children do react and do have these big feelings and are still in a place where they allow those feelings to come to the surface, if we could think about the power of allowing those feelings to be nurtured and to have a safe space for them to come back and share them with us, it's really quite remarkable the change that can even happen from one generation to the next. And I think a lot of us can resonate with the trauma, for lack of a better word, that we've taken on from our parents' generation and them from the ones before them. And I think if we can just make one choice to recognize that if we get triggered or we get upset by something that our kids do, why is that? Can we take responsibility for what's coming up for us and make a different choice so that they can be heard?
Yeah.
And just thinking about the change that can happen quite quickly in the scheme of things is really quite remarkable. So I want to wrap it up a little bit and allow just a little bit of time for you to share with those listening how they can find you, the work that you're currently doing, and kind of how they can find some support if that's what they choose.
Be happy to share. I'm just going to say one last thing to what you just shared, going back to what you said about taking care of yourself first and then being able to show up for your child. Like everything I've been talking about, if you can really learn how to make yourself a priority, show up for you, learn how to process your stuff first, and then hold space. We're talking about your child, especially. I mean, what could be possible, not only for you and your transformation, but your child's transformation. And then even bigger, the connection that you get to have together as mother and daughter, mother and son, or father and son, or father and daughter, right? It's a beautiful thing if we're just simply willing to slow this thing down enough and make ourselves a priority first, take responsibility for us first, we can hold space for the other people in our life.
Yeah, absolutely.
So with that being said, again, this is a big part of my mission is to help women or people, live in their heart in as many moments as possible. And so in light of working with me, I do one-on-one coaching. I have group programs. I have courses. Currently, right now, I have a membership called the Heart-Centered Collective Membership. And the intention here, again, is just to help more people live from their heart, help them really step into this discernment of showing up for themselves first, practicing self-care, journaling, meditation, manifestation, gratitude, celebration, movement, really just learning how to nurture yourself and staying accountable and consistent. What I have learned is that consistency is what wins the game. And so I was getting a lot of feedback of like, Randi, I know I should be doing this, but I don't have any accountability and maybe I can't afford you as one-on-one. And so I created this membership as a way to hold space, to hold accountability, to have support for you to simply show up for yourself daily. It comes with daily prompts, affirmations, inspiration in your inbox every single morning as a way to just help you be like, nope, I'm doing this. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to use this prompt. There's no excuses. The meditations are there. The prompts are there. The inspiration is there. The affirmations are there. The guidance is there. I also do a monthly group coaching call, which is very, very powerful. You get live coaching from me. I will channel different messages or different themes. It's a really, really powerful support group of women as well. You get to come together with like-minded women just to know you're not alone, that you are supported. We're all in this together, which is such a beautiful thing. So that's called the Heart-Centered Collective Membership. It's only $88 a month to join. And I know there will be a link in the show notes if anyone wants to be a part of that. Of course, you can find me on Instagram. It's just at Randi Halaway, which I believe will probably be in the show notes as well. If you guys have any questions, feel free to send me a DM, or you can check out my website as well, randihalaway.com. And there's a lot of different other ways. I have a ton of free resources and a link in my bio and other ways to work with me. But again, if you have any questions or you're feeling inspired, I'd love for you to join the Heart-Centered Collective or reach out to me with any other questions.
Yay. Yeah, I think just a comment on that too, from personal experience for anyone listening, there's been a lot of benefit that I've received, obviously, from the one-on-one work that we've done. I did also participate in the first group program, which is how we started our work together, and has evolved. And I have been participating in your collective membership. So I will say there's so much value there. There's a lot of comfort that comes from listening to your meditations, but also participating. I think there's also a Facebook group that you have and listening to the stories of other women who are going through very similar life experiences. there's just a lot of comfort that comes from that and that you are not alone. So I am definitely a living proponent, an example of this. And I will also say that if anyone is listening, you are also more than welcome to reach out to me to hear about my experiences with all of these and kind of the value that it brings to the table. So with that, Randi, thank you for sharing your journey and this work. It has definitely impacted my life. And I am hopeful that there's at least a nugget or two in here that has sparked some sort of interest in somebody else that's listening. So everything will be linked in our show notes, and make sure to check out Randi's membership collective.
Yes, thank you so much, love. I just want to honor and acknowledge you for just your bright and radiant light and your willingness to open your heart to continue. Oh, Olive just made an appearance.
I hear.
Continue to open your heart to go into the harder moments and continue to be vulnerable and be seen. And it has just been such a joy and a blessing to work with you and to walk this journey side by side with you. So I'm beyond grateful for you and this opportunity to share with your audience today. It was such a pleasure. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. See, the daughters in the background. Women, it's okay. Yes. You can have your kid in the background.
Oh, perfect. She wants to be a part of it too. Soon we'll have her on an episode for sure.
We'll see. She likes to touch the keyboard. All right, Randi, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to today's episode. If you liked what you heard, please help us out and leave a review wherever you listen, and consider sharing with your friends. If you're interested in learning a bit more about the project or want to share your story, please visit our website linked in our show notes below.